Hey,
Hello, my name is Selena.
and my name's Theoni, and you are watching Disney Channel. Just kidding. You're watching Piping Hot. Wait, you're listening to Piping Hot.
You're watching Disney.
I told I'm sorry. I told you I'm on one today. I don't know what's going on.
Oh my god! And you're watching Disney Channel. We need like the wands, and we have
Yes,
to like
literally.
draw it.
Oh my god.
It's
Welcome.
actually Disney Channel.
It's actually
This is Disney Channel.
with your space buns. We can like pull a Xenon, girl of the 21st century.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh my gosh.
gosh.
Well, anyways, welcome everybody. We just filmed the first half of this episode, so we don't have any new exciting tea to share with you. We are just going to dive right into the second half of the book. As you can tell, probably, I'm getting more and more tired the longer we record. So, if you thought my laughing was bad last episode, just you wait. It will get worse.
And part 2 is like juicy too. So
Oh.
it's like not a good combination.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so I will dive right in. We ended last episode with chapter 14, and I will jump into chapter 15. Chapter 15 is short, but so important. January arrives at the coffee shop and bookstore with her favorite townsperson, Pete. Pete becomes excited to show January the new display, but the conversation quickly takes a turn. Not only does Pete share that she is Gus's aunt, but she also shares that Gus likes her and wants January to be patient with him. But the bombs don't stop dropping there. Pete discloses that Gus's birthday was the night January moved in and also the night she left Gus, meaning Gus's wife. But the last thing Pete shares that truly changes everything is that Gus has been divorced and married. January quickly realizes she doesn't know Gus as much as she thought she did. One thing I will say, because I thought I saw your face while I was reading the synopsis, just to be clear, Pete is the one who told January to be patient with Gus. Gus didn't tell Pete to tell January that. Yeah.
No, I'll be honest with you. I was still thinking about the Disney Channel. and then I remembered I had to be listening. So I started nodding. I was like, yeah, you're
You
right.
just completely dissociated.
I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about the Disney Channel thing. Oh my god.
Oh, it's too much, dude. Oh my god, that's so funny because I saw your face and I was like, she's not listening to a word I'm saying.
No thoughts behind these eyes.
But it makes sense because you're stupid.
Oh my god, I'm crying right now.
Oh my god. We're off to a fantastic start. Holy crap.
Part 2 is already chaotic.
Holy crap.
Oh wait, I forgot that this chapter was here, but I guess it makes sense because my chapter that I start with next is like gets pretty heated, but yeah, this was like a connecting chapter, and it was short, but it was super important.
Exactly. And honestly, I don't have anything to say about it because my synopsis pretty much said it all. You know what I mean? Like, I remember feeling so like stressed and concerned, like what's going to happen next during it. But like, basically the things we learn is that Pete can tell that Gus really, really likes her. And then we find out all the other stuff. So
I was surprised that Gus was married and divorced because
I was too. I didn't see that coming a mile
me
away.
neither. I was like, Gus, you were married? Like, you loved someone? I was just like,
I know.
This like gives me such a different perspective of him. I'm like, he does know how to love. He does really like know how to care for someone.
Totally. Which I was just like, holy cow. If you weren't totally sold on Gus, I feel like this would totally change your mind. Is that kind of where you were at?
Yeah, it gave me like more like empathy for him because I was like, oh, I think like Pete also said that it sounded like pretty recent as well, like the divorce or the split. And I was like, I was just like looking at him from a different perspective now. I was like, oh, maybe that's why he's kind of like standoffish, and he's like not being rude, but definitely being short and kind of like a little smart ass. But it's like he's hurting.
Totally.
Like, it sounds very recent.
Yes, 100%. And I think, I don't know, I think that context is just so important to like the trajectory of the rest of the book, but also just how he develops, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Chapter 16 begins with Gus finally returning to his usual table. Gus apologizes for being gone but doesn't explain why. While January continues trying to write while her focus is elsewhere, Gus attempts to meet with January on their porches in their usual way. However, January will avoid until she can't anymore. To busy her mind, January decides to sell more furniture, but this time reaches out to Sonia to make sure it's okay. The next day, Gus unexpectedly shows up at January's door saying the Dave was in his house and ready to talk. January quickly runs over into Gus's house for the first time. Dave shares his story about the cult, and it's so different than either of them could have imagined. It becomes clear to January that she views Gus in a different light now, one where she wants to know more and can't do simple with him. Right when January and Gus have alone time and are about to have a drink, January leaves his house with the promise of tomorrow. Okay, so here's the thing. The beginning of this chapter was frustrating because I was like, January, I know he messed up, but talk to him. Maybe he's going to apologize. Who knows what was going on? Maybe he's going to talk to you about it. Maybe it was an emergency. But also I was like, Gus, why are you expecting January to just act totally normal when you left her high and dry? I was like, come on now.
So it would have been different if they didn't do anything and it was just like the Olive Garden dinner, but they literally made out and then he left for a week. That was my problem.
Yep, 100%. Because that's on a different level than just like flirting or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like totally different. To be honest, when they were sitting in Gus's house with Dave, I was a bit confused what the whole cult situation was. Like the way that Dave was describing it with the lightning and all of that didn't really make sense to me. I don't know if you understood that, but I didn't totally.
So the lightning before they got into the cult, or the lightning that happened in the cult?
Both.
Okay. So lightning, Dave got struck by lightning, and then his mom was like, OMG, that's a sign. We have to like go to church and stuff, because like that's literally like a 1 in a million chance. That's not true, but it's like very rare to get struck by lightning. And then when the first time that they go to church, they get a flyer for New Eden, which is the cult, and that's how they get sucked in. And then the second lightning thing is that Dave was sleepwalking again, which is how he got struck by lightning the first time. He's sleepwalking again, and he's walking outside the house that they're in. And his mom is like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? I'm going to go grab you. She goes and chases Dave, and then lightning strikes the house, which
as
kills
another
his dad.
sign. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Got you. Thank you for clearing that up, because I was very confused. Okay, I will say that I love when January first enters Gus's house. She very much takes notes. We've been having this relationship, whatever the nature of that is, but this is the first time I've been in his house. And I love her curiosity. She just wants to look around, learn more about him. I love that. But then when Dave leaves, they were alone. And I was like, oh my gosh, something's going to happen. Like, this is nuts. I was so excited. This quote, I forget exactly what it was in relationship to be honest, but it says, a smile and a flutter weren't enough for me. I was done with secrets and lies, no matter how pretty.
And I think it was in reaction of Pete telling her that he was married and he was divorced. And I think finally being alone with him after a week was like a lot for her.
Totally. But I just love that quote.
I found it so weird that she reached out to Sonia for those furniture. Like, why now? I don't like, before you didn't care, and now just randomly you're going to email her and be like, I'm going to ask if she wants this furniture.
I thought it was weird too, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I understand, because obviously she's had so much inner turmoil about this situation. And so for her, I think it was her curiosity almost getting the best of her, right? So it's like she's been wondering about Sonia, but she's been avoiding it, as she does. And she's like, this is a small way just to see how she reacts, and I'm gonna do it. And it almost seemed more of like an impulsive thing than like a thing where she's like, I really want to know her and blah blah blah.
It did feel very impulsive. But I just thought it was so weird. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Also, at the end of like the Dave interview or whatever, did Gus like ask her to stay and have a drink?
Yes,
but then she didn't.
he did. But then she avoided,
That
and
made
that's
me
where the
sad.
chapter ends. I know, me too.
I was like, January, just stay for a drink.
I know, right?
Like, please.
Well, she was going to, remember? But then I think she freaked
know.
herself out.
Yeah.
Which,
I
girl,
know.
if that isn't relatable, I don't know what is. Who doesn't get freaked out by their own, like, the anticipation of something?
Yeah. At this point, we haven't seen Gus for a week, so I'm
Exactly.
like, oh my God, I like need more of him.
Yes.
I need more of him. But
Totally.
like, I definitely understand where like January is coming from of like, I need the full thing. This can't be like a little fling or whatever. Because she really, really likes
Yep,
him.
100%. But yeah, that's all I got for the chapter.
Moving on to chapter 17. This is the synopsis. January takes Gus on another Saturday romantic comedy night, and they go line dancing. We learn of Gus's history and who his wife had left him for. Okay, I thought the carnival was cute. Line dancing topped that.
It did. It was so good. It was so good.
Yes, and I love the way that Emily Henry wrote it because I
Yes.
felt like I was there
Yes.
and I could see them dancing too. It was so descriptive and I could see it all in my head. And I was
Totally.
like, this is so cute, adorable.
Oh my gosh. Wait, wasn't there a part where like he was getting mad that people kept bumping into her? Wasn't there?
I think so.
There was something
I don't
about
know,
how
maybe.
he like grabbed her waist or like caught her when she almost fell over, right?
Oh no, it was the pole, the pillar.
Oh.
And he like caught her before she could
Yes,
run into it. 'Cause
that's what it
I think
was.
her back was towards it, but no, his hands were on her waist that entire freaking night. It's like,
I love it.
I know, me too.
See, I hate PDA. I think you know that about me. Or maybe you don't.
I think so, but I hate PDA too.
I literally hate it, but I will say I love a good subtle touch. Like just to
Yeah,
let me know
same.
that you're like thinking of me or whatever. I
Yeah.
hate but I just had to point out because I feel like he does that a lot.
I'm getting better, but like before I like would not even hold Jack's
Really?
hand in public. No. Like I was like, you're not grabbing my hand and anything. Like, no, you're not in public.
Which, fair enough. It's just not for some people. And I just feel like
Yes.
sometimes, honestly, like when people walk with their arms around each other or holding hands, I'm like, that's just inconvenient. Like,
Yeah. Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think so.
Wow, we're horrible. Okay.
So then as they're dancing and they're drinking, right, they're taking these shots, January gets in her head, which, you know, we've seen it before and we saw it at the beginning of this chapter, but like, I don't know. I guess I don't blame her because like I get in my head a lot too. And with alcohol, it kind of just
Totally.
it's like a hamster
Yes.
running on a wheel. As she's dancing with Gus, she gets it into her head that when Gus toasted her for like, when they were taking shots and he said something like, oh, to her happy endings, she thought that was like him making fun of her. And I guess to her defense, I like could totally see that because in her mind, she was saying, you know, Gus got married, Gus got divorced. Of course, happy endings never exist because he already went through it all and knows that life is shit. And this is like his trump card to like pull out and be like, haha, like I have proof that happy endings don't actually work. So in a way, I was like, okay, January, I can see where you're going, but it's unnecessary to take it out when he clearly doesn't know that you know that he
Literally,
was married, you know?
like, girl.
It's like a one-sided conversation, and I'm like, you just need to hold on.
Take a deep
okay?
breath, but the alcohol does not allow you to
Yes.
take deep breaths. Once your mind starts going
Yeah.
when you're drinking alcohol, it goes. It's
Exactly,
gone.
yeah. So I didn't blame her, but I was just like, oh my God.
It made me
okay,
so
I guess
mad.
like this is, yeah, I know. And I was like, I guess this is where we're going. I guess this is the path that we're going. So whatever. And then after that scene, she like runs out and goes to her car. She's like, I'm going to drive. And I don't know why, but like this scene, I could also see vividly in my head.
Wow.
I could see her like stumbling and like trying to get to her keys and like Gus standing in front of the door and her yelling like for him to move and stuff. Like I could see it so vividly in my head. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like I was dying because the tension, I could feel
Yes.
the tension. And then finally, Gus spills his
Thank
guts.
goodness. I was
about
waiting
his
for him
history.
to do that.
Me too. I was like, freaking
Yeah.
finally. I've been waiting this entire
Literally.
time. And like, I just need to know. I just need to know the backstory. I noted that like my heart broke when he said on page 195, quote, happy endings don't happen to everyone. There's nothing you can do to make someone keep loving you. And I was like, oh my gosh, broke. Gus. Me too. At this point, I was like, oh, Gus, I see you. I see you, and now I understand you. Like, that is such a real fear. And I can definitely tell, like now that we know that he got divorced, like, that totally hits different. And I was like, oh, I just felt so sad. But then again, too, I love that we finally, like, got a piece of him. Like, we could get, like, these little pieces of him. Because, again, we were just, like, waiting for so long.
No, I love that he finally opened up. And I think it almost took the urgency of potentially now making January so upset that maybe she would leave him, that he was like, now I need to do this. Like, I need to open up.
Yeah, and I don't think it was like a bad thing though, too.
Not at all.
I don't think January was like pressuring him, but like I 100% believe it's like a fear of Gus. And so he was just like, I have to say something. Like, I have to do it. There's like a paragraph on 195 that I have to read because I noted that I had to just take a break after literally reading this paragraph. So I'll read it. So this is on 195 from Gus. Believe it or not, I don't just sit through hours of conversations with you silently judging you. And if it takes me a while to tell you things like, hey, my wife left me for my college roommate, maybe it has nothing to do with you, okay? Maybe it's because I don't like saying that sentence out loud. I mean, your mom didn't leave when your dad cheated on her, and my mom didn't leave my dad when he broke my fucking arm. And yet I couldn't do anything to make my wife stay. I had to set the book down and I was like, honey, Gus, this is a lot of trauma that you're unpacking right now, and I just need you to sit down and take a deep breath because this is a lot. Like, I felt so bad for him. Like, I could literally like hold his pain. Like, it was so tangible to me. Like,
because he wants to be so understanding of January. And it goes back to what Pete said, like, you just have to wait for him. He doesn't open up about this with anyone. The last time he probably opened up about this was with his wife, who left him no matter what he tried. So of course he's going to be insecure in relationships. And he's like, I know you want more, but I can't give it to you all at once. Like, I just can't. And I need you to know why. God, the trauma.
It's like I could see how deep the wound went.
Totally.
You know? And it was just, I could see it rooted in him. And I was just like, oh, Gus, like, I just want to give you a hug. I feel so bad. I had to like take a deep breath and be like, okay, it's fine. And then I said it was like the nail on the coffin when Gus revealed that it was his college roommate that Naomi had left him for. But then I totally forgot that January knew Parker, because January and Gus knew of each other in college, and it all clicked in my head. I was like, oh, holy shit, January knows Parker. Like, it was just so
how their
weird.
worlds collided.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? It probably felt so good for like Gus to tell someone, and then literally for someone to know who Parker is. Like, he doesn't have to explain that, you know? The chapter ends with him getting coffee to like sober up to go home. But like, oh my God, this chapter was like really big. But I also felt like we needed it. We needed something to move their relationship. And I also felt like this was a huge turning point for their relationship.
Was huge.
Yeah, especially after like the week of being gone. I just felt like we needed one more push to get them to the next step. And this definitely did, but it was just a lot.
It really was.
Moving on to chapter 18. So this is the synopsis. Dealing with a brutal hangover, January and Gus spend more time together at Gus's house. We get more background on Gus's wife, and January details her relationship with Jacques and their fallout. The chapter ends with January telling Gus why she moved here. So again, this one was like a lot of info dump, but I actually didn't mind it because I really love their conversations. And so I was just like,
me too,
eating it up. And also we got a lot more information about Gus. So while like nothing really happened in this chapter, we learned so much, and I really, really did like it.
No, me too. And I think, again, I didn't know if I would like that version of contemporary romance, but I almost like it better. Honestly, just the style of it, because there's so much meat there. There's so much to dive into, but it all, I don't know. I really, really love it. And I like you said, their dialogue is insane, and I love anytime they communicate.
It was so good. Like, it was, again, nothing happened, but their dialogue was just so interesting that I was so, like, I needed to read it, like, right there and then.
Same.
Okay, I said I have to read the paragraph on 201.
Oh, boy.
About Gus's excitement.
Oh, no. I think I'm going to lose that, aren't I?
Look, Gus said, and pointed up at the deep blue sky as two trails of silver light streaked through the stars. His eyes were doing the Gus thing, at the sight of them, and it made my chest flutter almost painfully. I loved that vulnerable excitement when he first caught sight of something that made him feel before he could cover it up. He looks at me like that sometimes.
I'm going to cry.
Me too. Me too. My note is, this is when I started to really like Gus. Like, I liked him before, yes, but this is when it really, truly hit, and I was like, oh, he's the one. He is the one.
Why am I crying? I think that's just so beautiful. Like,
I know.
That's how people in love look at each other. Like, it's not anything they say, it's just what they do. And to know that, like, certain look in their eyes when it means a certain thing, like, that is so powerful to me. I don't know why. I what the frick is wrong with me, dude? Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I love that paragraph, and it was just so sweet because, again, we don't get to see that side of Gus.
Yep.
And so I love getting these, like, little parts of him, but then I love that, like, January can notice, and January can be like, oh, he actually does that with me. And I'm like, yes, he does. I also said, bottom of page 203, I found it interesting that Gus was like, yeah, I loved my life, but she was never someone I could break. She was so tough and strong, and I love that about her. Because I felt like it wasn't a very Gus thing in my perspective, so I'm interested to hear, like, what you thought when you heard him describe Naomi like that.
I thought that it made sense, actually, because I think that because of, like, the trauma he has dealt with, it probably almost feels a little bit like a relief to him to not feel that, like, someone else completely depends on him. Not that he doesn't want someone like that, but I think it's almost like he idealized her a little bit in that way. Like, maybe he wishes he was more tough or more independent. And it was a little confusing, I guess, because he presents, again, completely differently. But I think now, after you have the context of his trauma, it makes so much sense that that is what he would want in a partner initially.
That totally makes sense. That's probably your, like, therapist side talking.
Yep,
I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Well,
you're
that
right.
is why the trauma affected him. And let me tell you, like, it's so...
And this is why he was looking for this.
And that's how I talk to all of my clients. Can you imagine? They'd be like, what the hell? Okay.
He'd be like, are you okay?
Yeah, literally. Maybe you need therapy. Everyone needs therapy, for the record.
Yeah.
But
okay.
anyways.
Yeah. Really. Real talk. But yeah, no, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, but I do agree with you. He presents himself in a different way that when I read that, I was like, Gus, really? Like, that's who you married?
Literally.
But definitely makes sense. I love that we get more detail about January's ex-boyfriend. And I love her analogy that he was the leading star, but when they were just sitting there eating breakfast, they only worked okay. And I was like, wow.
Really good self-awareness.
Oh, yeah. And that sounds like a really sucky relationship.
It does. Because honestly, to me, sometimes those are the moments when, like she kind of pointed to, it's like those are the moments that really show you if that's, like, the person. Like, you need to be in comfortable silence with them or comfortable normal day things. Like, and they clearly weren't.
And she also said, she goes on to say, too, like, when her dad died, he couldn't deal with her falling apart. And so he left because, like, it wasn't his, like, leading star expectations that they had for, I think it was 5 years that they were dating.
I think so. Yeah.
Freaking sucks. Okay. That is shitty. And then he broke up with her in a hot tub too. Even more shitty.
Like, boy.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So random, but I just wanted to point out a quote on page 208 when she said, quote, "You know that feeling when you're watching someone sleep and you feel overwhelmed with joy that they exist?" And my note is all in caps, just saying as a reference for later. Hee hee.
Oh my God, I can't even talk about it now because otherwise I'm gonna want to talk about the later.
I know.
But holy friggin' crap.
Yeah.
Holy friggin' crap.
I did really like that phrase though, of just like looking at someone and just, they're not even doing anything. And you just feel so overwhelmed. And I was like, wow, that is like a really strong feeling that you need to have. And I love that she pointed that out.
I agree.
Okay, I think it's so cute that they began like a nightly like routine where they like spent time at each other's houses before going to bed. Like, so cute. And I just like love the development of their relationship because it's just like little tiny things at first, but it's so important for like their growth, you know?
Totally. And one thing I will say that I love about this book compared to other contemporary romances that I get really frustrated by sometimes, it doesn't make you go back and forth 100 times. When they do go back and forth or miscommunicate, it makes sense in the context of what's going on. It's not just thrown in there to have conflict. Like, it makes sense for them. And so I love that, like, once they like finally broke that barrier, they both just let themselves be happy. I loved that.
Yeah, it happens again at the end of the book, which we'll talk about, but you're right. It always has a reasoning. Like, there's always a reasoning and it makes sense. And I agree that like it made a lot more sense in Beach Read compared to other contemporary romance novels that I've read where it's just like, I didn't tell him. Or like, oh, he didn't tell her. I was like, what? What are you talking about?
What, oh my gosh. I read this one book called Simmer Up, or I think Simmer something. Okay. It was the dumbest. I mean, it was fine, but they went back and forth so many times I couldn't even get into the story. I was like, no.
Oh, really? Okay, wait. Do you remember that Snapchat that I sent you of the book You Had Me at Ola?
Yes.
Great cover. The sex was great too in the book, but it was the miscommunication trope, and it was the worst. Theoni, literally the fucking worst. Like, it was just so dramatic where it was like it didn't even make sense anymore.
That's so frustrating. And to be honest, I don't think I like the miscommunication trope. The more I read, the more I hate it. And I also think, and maybe you relate to this too, as much as I like hate conflict, I am not one to like bite my tongue if there's something I want to say to someone that bothers me. I'm very much on the side of like, I want to communicate and I want to figure this out. And if I have something to say, I can't expect you to fix it if I don't tell you. So I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'll do it nicely in my own Theoni annoying way, but I will tell you. And I hate when people don't just ask. Like, if you're bothered by something, why don't you just ask? Why don't you just talk to them? Because it's probably an explanation. But no, you get yourself in trouble because you refuse to just talk to them. You're dumb. You're dumb. Sorry. I just went on a rant. Hoof the Martha. But it makes me mad. It makes no sense. Like, girl.
You're so funny.
Sorry. It's so upsetting.
You know what? I just talked to my therapist about this because I'm that person who doesn't say anything.
Really?
But also, though, connecting back to Gus, it's just a very deeply trauma response.
100%. And I totally get that.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying more just like reading it in a book, not in real life. In real life, it's way easier said than done.
Oh, 100%. Also, like, confrontation makes me cry. So, like, I can't ever do anything.
Because you're like, catch me never crying in front of you.
No, never. Which gets me to my next point. Because then January reveals that the beach house is her father's with, like, his mistress. And, like, Gus never knew of him. And, like, a small part of her was hoping that Gus would have known her dad because she's been craving closure and just like
information,
wanting like more pieces of him. And then she cries, and that's why it connects, because I cry during confrontation. She just like cries, but Girly cries a lot in this book.
She does,
but I don't blame her because she's dealing with a lot. Like,
and she suppressed it for so long that now she's giving herself the opportunity to just feel.
Yes. No, every time she cried, I was like, just let it out.
Yep.
Just do you. Oh my God. Sorry, I forgot this happened. And then there's like this hot makeout scene on the deck, I think. But it's not really a makeout scene, but like his hands are all over her, and I was dying at the descriptions. Like, it was so good in the best way possible. And they didn't even do that much, but like the way that Emily Henry wrote it was freaking spectacular.
So amazing. Oh,
So freaking good.
I was like, oh my gosh, something's gonna happen. But nope.
Like, I think it was like when he like ran his hands like behind her, like on the back of her thighs, and he was like, "Oh, January, you feel so good," and then they get interrupted. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
No, this
It
was on
just
the
getting
couch.
good.
This was on the couch, was it not?
Oh, was it on the couch?
Because then they hear
Maybe
a
it
knock
was.
at the door, right? Or am I thinking
Yes,
of
because
some...
it's their Thai food.
Yes. God damn.
Yeah.
Go away.
I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I think we've already touched on it a bit in the beginning of the book, but I just want to bring it up again. I was so pissed at the end of the chapter that like they apologized, or I don't know what she said exactly, but I think she apologized and he said, "Don't worry about it," or whatever. And then it basically said, quote, "We left it at that." Like, what do you mean you left it at that? He was just touching you and you guys were making out and doing all of this stuff. Like, it's clearly a pattern, but then later on in the book, I understand why. But at the moment, I was really angry.
I was like,
just
sorry.
so annoyed.
What the heck do you mean?
Yes.
Sorry for what?
I was like, did you guys just not see what you guys just did there? Like, that was huge.
I know.
Okay?
I know, literally.
I just,
Ugh.
I don't know how you can, like, ignore the elephant in the room. Like, it just, I don't know. I was annoyed. But, again, I understand it later in the book. But at the moment, I was very angry.
100%. Alrighty, right into chapter 19, folks.
Yeah.
Chapter 19 begins with a trip to Dave's house where we get introduced to Dave's mother, Julianne. It quickly becomes known that something is off between Dave and Julianne, but it's unclear if this is normal or if there's more to the story. However, this becomes significant because of the effect it had on January. January reflects on a time when her parents separated and then got back together and were more in love than before. This gave January the confidence she needed to say that she wants the story and doesn't need it for her to tell her mom she loves her. Then January and Gus take a Saturday beach walk where Gus reveals more about his father, how Gus grew up, and how that affects him now. January then solidifies with herself that she cares about Gus and even tells him that. Gus then quickly reveals that he believes January is the light, not weak. January finds that their silences are just as impactful as their words. Gus then tells January that he cares about her too.
This makes me so happy.
I know. Okay, I know I'm jumping ahead in the chapter, but I'm sorry, but like the fact that they told each other they cared about her, not this big I love you, not this whatever, but that is both what they need. They need someone who just genuinely, like, unconditionally cares about them. And the fact that they were just unafraid to tell each other that, I think was so beautiful. And that also comes up later. But like, I just love that, again, they don't hold back. When they're there, they're really there.
Yes, and I love that. And I love the progression of their novel, and Emily Henry probably did it on purpose, like of like why I felt so frustrated at the beginning because they weren't communicating, but then like in the second half of the book they just like click so well, and I love it
too. Oh my gosh, I really thought it was interesting to hear Julianne and Dave talk about the cult. Like when Julianne said for the first time, I felt grateful to be alive, and that's what cults do. They prey on people lacking connection and hope.
100%.
Okay, my mind was blown when we found out on page 2017 that January's parents separated for a bit. That blew my mind. But here's a quote that made me cry. It's very simple, but Gus says, Pete likes to say I was never a kid. That broke my heart. And then they had this conversation and she was just like, why can't you listen to me? This isn't pity. This is sympathy. Just like, let me care about you. And then she goes, I just think of you as Gus. And I just thought that was so sweet because she's like, you're not a charity case. You're not anything. This is just who you are. And I accept you for that. And that's all I think of you as. Like, how beautiful is that?
I'm going to cry. Yeah, no, that was like... Okay, now thinking back to the whole quote that you said, like, oh, I'm just like you or whatever, it does make sense because they both had to grow up super fast.
Totally.
And they had to, like, carry on very, very heavy burdens. So I can see where, like, January would draw that, like, parallel with
100%.
them.
Okay, and then again, going back to what I said earlier, there's a quote that said, it was an unabashed moment, a comfortable silence. That's when you know that like something is real, when you just get that sense of like being content. Yeah. And I just love that quote.
Yeah. And I love that they can get to that point, like with just each other. Whereas before they were always bantering, they were always doing something, but like now they're just like content. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, you are. All right, now into chapter 20. And I do. The chapter begins with Shadi revealing January that she has fallen in love. However, that means she won't be able to come to 4th of July like they were planning. This may seem sad, but it means January is now free to make other plans. January also receives an email back from Sonia about the patio furniture, who once again wants to speak with January, to which January ignores for the time being. Right nearby, Gus wakes up after having fallen asleep after a 4-movie-long movie marathon with January. Fast forward to a day when January is visiting Gus at his house, and of course, more banter ensues. January quickly finds herself wondering how they can be so close yet maintain so much self-control. Then, Gus invites January, very nervously, to Pete's 4th of July party where Sonia will also be, supposedly. January quickly accepts, with the exception that Sonia will not be in attendance. Then, January finally has the courage to brave the basement she has been avoiding. She's then interrupted and scared, but a surprise but welcome visitor. Gus and January quickly find themselves in a promising position after Gus explains that January can come to the party with no pressure to bring anything else. Then the self-control quickly melts away.
I knew it would happen when he was on the steps.
Oh,
I freaking knew it.
Yeah, I was like, this is it. This is freaking it. I was like, let me have it. It took me everything to not just like skim until I got, like, I was like, I don't need these details anymore. Let's just do it. I was like, oh my God. Okay. I thought the movie marathon was just a really cute detail because I was like, very natural, very adorable. And of course, they went back and forth with the different kinds of movies.
I screamed when I realized they woke up on the opposite sides of the couch, because that's been the first time that they like slept over, and I was like, something's changing, something's happening.
Yep, something's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
There was this moment where it was her inner dialogue, and she said something about, I can't even imagine getting sick of him. And I thought that was so cute.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And also was a huge thing for her to say, looking at like her parents' relationship and how her dad cheated on her mom. It's like, she cannot even fathom doing something like that.
I love just like how obsessed she is with him. Like, it's adorable. It's so cute.
Adorable. Okay. And then there's this one part where she's at Gus's house. I forget what the context or why she is over there exactly, but she goes over there and the whole yearbook situation ensues where she's looking in it. And I thought it was so cute. And then the way he just comes up behind her and like, I just thought it was so cute. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know. Oh my God. And then this is a quote she said during that situation. In her inner dialogue, she says, how many times could we possibly end up in situations like this? And how long until I lost what little self-control I managed to maintain? I was like, and I wrote in all caps, girl, same. We've been waiting for this one. Turn it up.
Please turn it up.
Literally, I'm ready. Okay, on page 239, I screamed, and then they blew past it like it was nothing. I was like, are you kidding? He said, that's what I love about you. And then she said something like to move past it, and I was like, let's take a moment.
Yes.
He said, what I love about you, which means I love you, but
I did not like that they blew past it too, because I'm like, hold on a second, Gus, what the fuck did you just say? Why did you think that you could just drop that bomb on all of us? Like, I was like, oh my God, like, he loves her. He loves her. And then I don't know why they just like switched it so quickly. I was like,
I was like, can we at least get some inner dialogue about what because there's no way she did not clock that. Knowing January, I was like, no.
Yeah. So
then January goes into the basement and she's going through the stuff. And she turns her head and he's at the top of the stairs. And before you know it, boom, boom, boom. Finally, we get what we've been waiting for. Here's a quote that made me lose my mind. He flattened me into the tool rack as his hands rose to my jaw, angling my mouth up to his as he kissed me again. That is so hot. I'm sorry. No. But when a guy like
Emily Henry's writing in these sex scenes were so good.
So good.
So freaking good. Like, I was just like rereading some lines because I was like, it was just like movements that they were doing, kind of like that jaw thing. And I was like, holy crap, this is so good.
It's so good. Holy
yeah.
crap. Okay, I might be embarrassed to ask this. What is a balconette?
Oh, I have no fucking clue. I remember reading that, being like,
is it a bra? Let me look it up.
Yeah,
now I need
please,
to know. Hold on.
Please, we all need to know.
We can't be the only ones who don't know what a balconette is. Oh, it's a push-up bra. Balconette. Yeah, it's a kind of bra.
Why can't you just say push-up bra?
Yeah, where did you get balconette?
You could say
The hell?
New phone who dis, but you can't say a push-up bra. Like, you need to...
That word seems so out of place too.
Yes.
I was like, what the hell?
Really?
Literally.
Yeah.
Okay, there's this one particular moment.
Okay.
I lost my mind. I literally screamed out loud, Selena. He said, God, January. And she goes, are you praying to me, Gus?
Me too, Theoni. Me fucking too.
Dude, and then he goes something like that.
I can't. I literally can't. Again, it's just, they're bad. It's just so good. Just so good.
Yeah, I can't even say anything else about that, but I literally like, holy freaking crap.
Yeah.
Holy freaking crap. And that's the end of the chapter because she had to split it up in her weird ass way.
I'm telling you, sometimes she splits them up so freaking weird and I hate it. Mm-hmm. Let's dive into chapter 21 then. Okay, my synopsis is one sentence. I say, sex in his house. Ah! Oh, and it's also Pete's 4th of July cookout. But the sex! It's like all in caps.
Literally
like,
though.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, again, it's like, why? Just don't split it up into chapters.
It was very, very weird.
I know, but anyways, okay. I love when... Sorry. I love when January's like, do you have a condom? And he's like, in your dad's basement. Yes! And she's like, no, like in your fucking pocket or something. And he's like, well, I didn't expect to come over here asking about cottage cheese with the assumption of sleeping with you. like
that was so funny. Oh my
so
gosh.
Hilarious. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I love that they like quickly put their clothes on and just like ran out the fucking house.
And then as she's going up the stairs, he like grabs her ass.
Yes, it's literally so like I could see the montage in my head. Mm-hmm. Like it was so vivid and I just thought it was like the cutest moment
so
of just
cute.
Like, oh my god, that they're like running next door and they don't have their shoes on and they're just like so excited. I was like,
I love that moment because that was so like rom-com, just so cute, and they have the same idea at the
I know. I thought the sex scene was hot. I think I'm just not used to the way that Emily Henry writes it because I'm very used to like sex scenes and like the love hypothesis. Mm-hmm.
What about the sex scenes in Ice Planet Barbarian?
Shut up.
I feel like they're pretty similar.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Go ahead.
But no, I thought it was pretty good. I will say it was very, very satisfying after all the teasing that we got. I was like, this is literally it. I was just...
I almost thought when they went to the other house that something was going to get in the way. But yes. Thank goodness it didn't.
I know. I will say I thought their dialogue was like so funny during it as well. And I just like love their chemistry and they could be funny during it too.
Yes.
Like when January was like, OMG, like you have sex up against your bookshelf. Is this like an ego thing? I was like, January, like this is... You're funny, but this is not the time.
Literally.
Okay, and then going back to what you said, January then said, oh God. And Gus was like, oh, are you praying to me now? And I was like,
I love it. The connection was so good.
Me too. I was just like, and it was so cute because I was like, that's such a Gus thing to like throw her words back at 100%. Her and be like, oh, are you praying to me now? Like, I love it so much.
Same.
I want to hear your thoughts about this. I was surprised while they were having sex. Like, Gus said that he wanted her even before the frat party. I guess I didn't know that he had this secret crush that long. And it just, like, came as a surprise to me. Because I think, like, at the frat party, I was like, yes, he did want her. But then before that, I was like, oh, really? But I think maybe that's just because I thought he was, like, being rude to her.
Well, because I remember I talked to you about this last episode, but I really thought the whole time that Gus had a thing for her. I really did. I really predicted that, so it didn't surprise me. I thought it was, like, so... I thought it was so good.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm just like imagining Gus because like he finally got the girl after what? Years and years. He finally got the girl. So he's probably like freaking the flip out. But I was also just like so happy for him because I was like, he deserves this.
He does.
After like all the shit that he's been through.
Totally.
I also loved that like he kept touching her after they were done. Like the lazy circles on her arms or her stomach and just constant like the arm across her like waist or hips or whatever, just like constantly touching her. And like my love language is not touch, but I can recognize that is a way of showing love. And I just loved it so much.
100%. I loved it too.
I was just gonna say I also thought it was like a way to make the moment more intimate for me. Because the sex scene was very hot and super fast, but at the end it was just like very like intimate, like that they laid together and stuff, and I was like, wow, this is really nice. And then Gus gets a phone call and it kills the moment so fucking fast,
so quick, and he says, I have to take this. No, you don't.
Can I meet you at your house in 5? He's kicking her out. Like I was like, what is happening? What the fuck is happening?
I was so mad at him.
Progress. Me too. Me freaking too. And so I just felt bad for January because like she was in her head again of like, oh my God, like did I do something? Oh my gosh, is it his wife? Like she was just like doubting herself. I was like, oh my gosh, January, it's not you, it's him. Like seriously.
Literally.
You know? Okay, so then we go to Pete's party and Gus has withdrawn just ever so slightly, but enough that like we can see that something's wrong, and like January can see something is wrong too, but he's not going to say anything. Sure. And the chapter ends with January basically like doubting her, like I said, and just saying how like Gus has thick walls and it would take years to chisel through them, but at the end of the day, she just wanted him.
I thought that was so beautiful, and also a really good callback to, as you were talking, I was thinking about this during the scene after the line dancing when he was like, I can't just tell you everything and blah, blah, blah. And I think that helped her to be less bothered by it, because that easily could have made her spiral and caused a whole thing. But she kind of let it stop herself just a little, because she was like, maybe he just can't tell me right now, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want to.
Yes. It was her way of like rationalizing and stopping that like spiraling, but also just like understanding Gus better. Like definitely knowing that phone call was something important.
Really frustrating. Not okay at all, but I understand.
Yeah. Okay. That was the end of chapter 21.
What a doozy.
I know. So we can go into chapter 22, which is also a doozy. So let's get into it. Okay, this is the synopsis. January and Gus head back to their houses after Pete's party, and things are tense. The next day, they go on the New Eden trip to visit the burned down compound that the cult was located at. January and Gus get real with one another, and Gus reveals that he liked January in their college writing class. The chapter ends with them kissing.
Aww.
Okay, again, everything is awkward. Like, this follows, like, immediately. They're still at, like, Pete's party, and things are just still really awkward. And I'm like, you guys, can you please communicate? Like, this is so annoying.
Literally.
I'm so annoyed.
Ugh.
And then, you know what pissed me off? Okay.
Bro, I know what you're going to say.
Later in the book, we understand his reasoning, but I was freaking pissed off that he tried to talk her out of the New Eden trip.
Literally. And she kept saying, like, what the heck? Like, dude, you're being so rude. She'd be like, do you not want me to come? And he's like, do whatever you want. That's not answering. But I did like that she was like, that's not answering my question.
Yes. No, I'm happy that she called him out, because that was shitty of him. So shitty of him that, and then again too, it's like we eventually get his reasoning for it, but I still don't really like his reasoning.
No, I don't either.
It was just a dick move.
It was just rude.
So fast forward, they like go on this trip and they're like driving, and the second they set up the tent, I knew something was gonna happen.
Oh, same. The fact that it was raining, like,
yeah. I was like, I'm sorry, you're setting up a tent for a day trip? Something's happening.
Literally, though.
So finally, when Gus returns from like scouting the area and comes back into the tent, because like January went in because it was like super cold and rainy, January finally asked him to like tell her what's happening. And I was so happy. I was like, yes, communication. This is it. This is it.
Totally.
We find out that Kayla, who is Gus's old friend, is also his lawyer. And she is also Naomi's lawyer.
That's so freaking weird. And
Me
also, that's
too.
a huge conflict of interest as a lawyer. Like, you should have never agreed to that.
I was like, what the heck? This is not normal. I'm like, how can you do that? That's so weird and awkward, you know? And because like, I think Gus says like one weekend he'll be with Kayla, and then the next weekend he'll see pictures with Kayla and Naomi in like Cancun or whatever. Like, it's just so weird. Like that they're both friends.
I would never be able to, I don't think.
Oh, same.
I couldn't let you guys be friends with each other. Like, I'm not trying to say we broke up so you don't get to be friends. Like, no, I would never do that. I wouldn't let them be my lawyer though. Like, I would be like, that's just too much.
Way too close to home. You need a separation, especially if you're friends with both of the people. I also love that we find out that this is when Gus reveals that like Kayla knows that he's head over heels in love with January, and like Kayla knows of her and all this stuff, and I was like, oh my god, Gus is so cute, like telling her these things. We also finally find out where Gus went that one stupid week that he left. And he went to visit Naomi in Chicago to like sort things out for their divorce. So again, at this point, I was like, oh, he has an explanation. That makes sense. And then a part of me was like, okay, you didn't have to text January and be like, oh, I'm going to go to Chicago to talk about my divorce. You could have literally just been like, hey, I'm going to be gone for a week.
But also he could have told her, because it's not like January didn't know about it.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Again, another reasoning just to like rationalize it. Yeah. Okay, and then this is also where we find out where Gus really liked January in their writing classes in college. And again, I just like did not see this coming, because I thought he was just being really rude to her and like patronizing her and being like, oh, like you're like, you know, just kind of nitpicking all of her writing and just being really rude. But I guess the way that like he said it in this chapter, I was like, oh, he did really like her. It was just kind of like a weird way that January didn't see it as that. I also loved that he came late to class just to sit next to her. That's so cute. It's so cute. It's literally so cute. Like, what the heck?
Adorable. Know. So adorable.
And
I think maybe the reason that I called it was because I felt like I related to Gus a little bit in that sense. It is so much easier to be like meaner or like very just like stone-faced with someone you like, rather than being like yourself, because it's like then that means you're actually getting to know them, and that seems so terrifying when you like somebody. So do you know how many crushes I've had on people, but they probably would have no idea, because I didn't really ever speak to them in any particular context that would warrant that, you know what I mean? But so I get it.
And it makes sense too, because like the things that he did were like not conventional of like, oh, I like you, because he's like, he always asked for pens. Which she mentions at the beginning of the book. She's like, it's so annoying, but he's like, it was the only way I could like talk to you and stuff. I was like, aww, Gus, you're too cute. You're too cute, dude.
He's such a softie.
I know. I love him.
Me too.
The chapter ends with Gus saying that he wants to be with January, but he's a wreck and he's not perfect, and he wants her to be happy. And I think they also go through kind of like over January's ex-boyfriend of just saying like, oh, he was like the leading star, he was perfect, but I'm not like him and I'm a wreck and blah blah blah, which is like how they got to this. And so he says he just wants her to be happy, and January goes, quote, Then let me be happy with you, Gus. My comment is BRB screaming, crying, throwing up. Oh my fucking God.
Literally though, because that doesn't freak her out. She's just like, just let me be happy with you. Like I don't need anything else. Just let's just enjoy each other.
Literally just you. That's all I want. And I was like, I'm gonna cry. I'm literally gonna cry.
It's so good. Oh my gosh. What a fantastic chapter.
I know. I really did like that they had this conversation. Again, I just love their conversations. Like
Me too. I eat them up.
Me too. They're so good. So good.
So good. All right. Chapter 23 begins with Gus and January finding themselves together once again. This time it's different. It's different because they're taking their time and somewhere deep down they know this won't be the last. After allowing themselves to have the moment, Gus asks January if she's happy. They both express how happy they are because that's what they both need to feel okay. Then January and Gus drive home in complete bliss and comfort in a way that feels different. It feels lighter. On the way home, January and Gus stop at a bookstore. They stumble into a conversation about what Gus really thinks January brings to the world. January returns the kindness by giving Gus that optimism. This is when the protection they feel for each other becomes apparent. January and Gus then quickly realize that working together might be too difficult because they are constantly distracted by each other. As time goes by, we learn that January and Gus go on food runs throughout the town. One night, they end up with Maggie and Pete in the bookstore just being happy. It's as if this is all how it's meant to be. To prove that, January and Gus go skinny dipping and admit without hesitation that they love each other.
Are you okay?
No, I don't know. I don't know if I am. I don't think I am okay. Oh my God. It's so perfect. I love the juxtaposition of like the first time they had sex was like so hot and heavy, but this one was like so slow and intimate and just like really like took their time.
Me too. It's like they were literally running across the lawn to get a freaking condom. And like they just needed to get it out of their system. But this one was just so different. And I just loved it. I loved it so much.
I know, me too. I loved it so much. And another little detail I liked was them holding hands while they drove. And like when he would like kiss her hand and just...
I'm so happy you said that. Because that's the female gaze right there.
It's so the female gaze. And I love that moment because it's so different than any of their other car rides. They were always uncomfortable, barely looking at each other. But this one, they were totally comfortable, totally together. Just, amazing.
Yeah.
There's this one part, which it doesn't even matter, but I'm going to say because it's funny. At one point, January says, "Can I ask you something?" And he goes, "No."
Yes. They like are so much more comfortable with each other, but their like banter is the same. Like I love
it too. Okay. And then in the bookstore, he says, "I always thought the way you saw the world was incredible. I never wanted to see you lose that." Like he's so protective over her, but so in love. Like, holy cow.
That's so sweet. Again, it's just like realizing that like Gus is like so soft and he's so thoughtful and caring. It's just that he has been hurt so many times in his life that he puts up those walls. Like of course he does. And I'm so happy that like January is like starting to get these like pieces of him.
Oh, yes. Okay. So then on page 294, I forget, I don't have the exact quote written down, but I did write in my notes. I love that she talks about how people aren't math problems and you can love and hate things at the same time. And I think that's something I say a lot to my clients, to myself, to my friends, whatever, is that like both things can be true, right? You can be mad, but still understanding. You can be happy, but still be sad, you know? And I just think that's really important to realize because I feel like people always think you have to just be angry. One emotion doesn't exist.
It's multidimensional. Yep. Like it doesn't exist by itself. It's literally founded on like so many different things that like people don't recognize.
Exactly. 100%.
Which is why it like builds up. Yeah.
Exactly. This quote, I literally shut the book and went and took a shower because I couldn't. He said, I know it's such a simple thing. It said, "I don't need snowflakes as long as there's January."
Yeah.
Maybe that didn't affect you as much as it affected me. But when I tell you, I was like, who says that? Because literally she talked about earlier in the book about how winter is beautiful except for January because it's always gray and dull. But no, he had to bring that back and said, as long as there's January, everything's good.
I know.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. No, it's so sweet because it's like in the context, it's like he's talking about the month and the season. But then he's also talking about her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to come back.
I know. Switching gears to something that was like so hot. When they're working at the table together or whatever, and she has this robe on, and he just goes up behind her and like does it. And she goes, I'm working. I was like, and he's like, not anymore or something. He said something and I lost it. I was like, ooh, that's so sexy.
That is so hot. Like, just so. Oh my God.
I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Holy crap. But again, I just love it. And then they kind of do like the montage of them going out to eat and all of these things. And it's just like, I love how comfortable they are together now. And then there's this one sentence. I forget exactly when she says it. It's before the skinny dipping. But there's a line that she says where I almost love him. I'm starting to love him. I love him. And it just shows like how she's like, I don't know, but I do. And I just need to tell myself I am. Because I am.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. I love that.
Okay. And then the whole skinny dip things happen. And I lost it. And what I loved about this, and you don't get this in contemporary romance, almost all the time when someone says I love you, the other person freaks out and doesn't say it back. In this book, there was no hesitation. Once Gus said it, and I love that Gus said it first. January.
I know. He said it first, which is huge for him, okay?
Huge.
But
I love that they just like said it and then they were happy. Like, we never get that. Like,
I'm like gonna cry again.
But that's where the chapter friggin' ends. So
I was gonna say I loved the scene you mentioned in your synopsis where they go to the bookstore and they're with Pete and Maggie.
Totally.
And like January's like sitting in his lap and they're like laughing and talking and it just seems so normal. Like it just seems like their life. And I'm like, this is amazing.
Literally.
I love it. But also when I read this chapter, I was like, everything is going too perfectly.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, everything is going too perfect, which then I knew.
Well, of course, I always look at the amount of pages left. I was like, okay, there's enough left where something else is gonna like go nuts, but they'll find it back. Chapter 24. Chapter 24 is one that makes one wonder if something is too good to be true. Holy crap, I wrote that. Selena, we are so on the same page. Wow.
Yes.
Sorry, okay, holy crap. Look at me go. Okay. Okay, it opens up with January and Gus entering the master bedroom together. Just as the bravery was mustered up, it quickly left when a safe was found but unable to be unlocked. When they discover the drawers are empty and the safe can't be opened, January quickly leaves. Then, January finally finishes her draft of the book and sends it off to her editor. Finally, it's the book event day. Although this should be a celebratory and routine, it quickly becomes anything but. Naomi, Gus's ex-wife, arrives unexpectedly. The chapter ends with Gus going to talk to Naomi and January arriving home, just to find the last person she wants to talk to telling her that they need to talk.
This was a crazy chapter. I was like, something went wrong. And then another thing went wrong. It was just, ugh.
I know. Yeah. I thought it was so special that Gus went in to the master bedroom with her because she has had to do all these things alone, deal with everything by herself. And it didn't even say this in the book, but like you felt how important it was that he was just there. He was just there.
I love that so much.
Yeah, I just thought that was really cool. When she finally sent off her book, I felt so much pride in her. Like I was so proud of her because I love that like as soon as they were together, the inspiration like just took off for both of them, you know?
I know. I could feel like a weight being lifted off of her. After submitting that book, I was like, wow, go you, January. Like, that's awesome.
Okay, on page 305, I don't know why this like got to me, but the fact that January comes back to the house and Gus is just waiting there, just ready to cuddle her, and then they just cuddle. Like, it's become so natural for them to just live together and be together and cuddle, and like he's just waiting there for her, and I just think that's so cute.
I know, it's adorable. Wasn't he like on the porch furniture, or what was he on? I don't know. Anyways, it was super cute.
Totally,
though.
right?
That's all that matters.
It really was. And then I didn't write a ton of notes about this, but we can discuss it if you want. But when Naomi was at the book event, the way it was written about how Pete knew and Maggie knew and Gus knew, but January figured it out just based off of like context, was so stressful.
I loved it. That was some excellent freaking writing. Because I could feel the tension shift, but I was in January's position, so I was like, something's wrong. Like, I need to like look around.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was just so good. It was so good.
And then Gus tells her, I have to talk to her, and she says, okay. I'm glad at least he said I need to talk to her. But the fact that he didn't follow up with a call or a text or anything, which of course, again, we get context later. But this time, actually, it didn't make me mad as much as the other times because I really, really understood the context. And honestly, I think it was better for him to do it the way he did.
No,
which we'll talk about later.
I agree. Because it's not an easy thing.
No, not at all.
You know, with what he was dealing with, it's not an easy thing. So I could definitely like understand, but like that didn't mean that I felt like empathy for January and like what she was
100%.
feeling, you know?
And then of course she's getting stressed about that, and she shows up and Sonia's on her freaking doorstep. Sonia, stop showing up at these inopportune times.
I know. I was pissed. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
I was like, leave her alone. Like, stop.
Yeah.
But that's the end of the chapter.
Moving on to chapter 25, which picks up literally right after chapter 24. Again, I just think that she could have just combined them, but whatever. Here is the synopsis. Sonia spills the tea, aka what really happened between her and January's dad. January finally opens up the safe and finds letters her dad wrote to her on each of her birthdays. She also finds a boat that he had, which he had named January. We get letter entries from her dad detailing his thoughts throughout January's life. So this is the chapter that I started feeling empathy for Sonia.
Me too.
Like I finally got the full story, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, I see it now. I like see the full picture, and I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of shitty what happened to you. Like, not gonna lie, it was pretty shitty.
100%. And I will say, she still shouldn't have done anything though, but I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Well, I understand too, because I think I also mentioned in my notes that it's like, she loved this guy. And like so early in her life, like this was like the love of her life. So I don't blame her for like being like hopeful to be of like an opportunity or a chance. It just sucked what happened. Honestly. Like what eventually like came to be. Yeah, it really broke my heart. But I like how it was written too, because of course we felt confused, like should we feel like empathy for her? Should we? Yeah. But that's also how it would feel in real life as well. You know what was interesting though, when Sonia was like recounting everything that happened between her and January's dad, it was the exact parallel that was happening to January and Gus's relationship at the very moment. Oh. And I was like, holy shit, stop. Like I was mind blown. That is some brilliant brain making this book right now. Yes. Like holy crap. Yeah. It just like everything came together, and I was like, holy shit. January is in Sonia's position right now with Gus and Naomi, and it fucking literally sucks. And I think that's why I was like sympathetic towards Sonia, because I was like, January is going through the same thing, which like really sucks. Totally. You know, it's also at this point that January realizes that her mother would have never told her about the affair if Sonia hadn't. Nope. And Sonia only told her because her father left Sonia the letter and keys to give January. And I was like, holy shit. Holy crap. That's crazy. Like January may not have ever known. Exactly. And her mom would have literally never said anything. And so in a way, her dad was doing her a favor, which in the moment, all the way at the beginning of the book, it did not seem like a favor, you know? Didn't. Okay, so eventually January finds all the letters, and then she finds the boat and she reads all the letters on the boat. I want to call out that I knew the code was her birthday. I knew it.
I didn't.
Really?
No.
I knew it. The second they tried to do it in the bedroom with Gus, I was like, it's her birthday.
See, I didn't call that at all. So then when we found out it was her birthday, I was like, it almost made me tear up. Like,
oh, really?
I don't know why, but it's just like, and she saw this in other parts of the house too, but it's like, even though he was doing this, nothing ever, and he even says this in the letter, but like nothing ever changed his love for January. Like, she is his life. And the way and the way the letters like went throughout her life, and just his reactions to like how proud he was, like, God, like that is beautiful. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
It's just, I loved reading the letter entries and just getting like little bits of like her dad throughout. I really, really did like the last letter entry that he wrote for her on her 28th birthday, which is, I think it hit me pretty hard because it like made me realize that people make mistakes and people grow and people change throughout their lives. And I was just like, you're so right. Like, it's just, you're not, as a person, you're not like stagnant, you know? Like, you're always constantly changing. And it definitely showed with those letter entries. And also in the letter, he was like, oh, I'm hoping you do better by the time that you're like 28 compared to like when I was. And I was just like, wow, that's just so like, just like a lot.
It's so powerful. And the fact that like she doesn't have the chance to like talk to him about this, or like,
I know. I just had to take like a deep breath and be like, wow, that was a lot. Even though it wasn't like every single birthday entry, it was just enough that like we got his character development, we got his wound, we got to understand him. And I was just like, this is crazy.
Yep.
Like, so good crazy.
Literally so good.
That's all that I have for chapter 25. But just because like the majority of it is those letter entries, but still a really, really great chapter.
Such a good chapter.
Moving on to chapter 26. This is the synopsis. While January gets closure with her father, the wound of Gus still bleeds open.
Ooh!
She calls her mother and Shadi for support.
That was so good. I'm so proud of you. Okay, sorry.
Thank you. And Shadi rushes over to Michigan to help January. They clean the house, and Shadi ensures that January is fed and preoccupied. When they are finally done with chores for the day, January tells everything to her best friend. I don't have much for this chapter because it was a transition chapter, which, again, not exciting, but I understand it needs to get January from like point A to point B in order to get to chapter 27. So I was like, whatever. It's not fun, but it's necessary for the novel.
100%. I will say that I love this chapter just because we finally got more Shadi in it. And I think that like,
Me too.
I just love their friendship. Like I was like, okay, I like this friendship. And she talks about how she thinks Shadi's the best person she knows. And I was like, but we don't get enough information to understand that. But now I do, because she knows January's needs before January can even like say them. Like, she's like, no, we're not going to talk about this right now. Let's just out of sight, out of mind for a little bit. And
exactly.
I don't know. To have a friend who knows you that well, I think is just incredible.
You could just tell that they were just so in sync. Like, it was just crazy. And also just like really sweet to know that like Shadi knew what 100% to like take care of January. I really like that January got closure from her dad. Like, I think that was so satisfying.
Me too.
And I felt like it was like such a long journey for her, but I'm happy that she eventually got there. It just like took a really, really long time. And I'm also so happy that she reconnected with her mom. That made me very happy
too.
Now that you got closure from your dad, you can get it from your mom. And it's like so much easier now to get closure from her mom now that she has it from her dad, because I think that was the mental block in her
100%.
head.
And what I was going to say is I think it's just such a good lesson about like empathy and forgiveness and like even just that you can forgive someone and not forget them but still have a relationship with them. Like, I don't know, I think there's just so much to say about learning to understand someone and getting the information and coming to terms with that over anything else.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know, I just thought it was written really, really good.
I also want to note that it's very, very important to know that Gus was calling January on her phone the entire time they were cleaning, but she ignored him. And that is my last note for chapter 26.
This next chapter drives me absolutely bonkers. Okay, synopsis. Ready? Chapter 27, baby. All right. Chapter 27 begins with January telling Shadi the entire story. Shadi also shares about her relationship with January, to which January thinks about the kind of person her best friend is. The love January has for Shadi becomes increasingly clear when Shadi is able to know exactly what to say to January to see what is right in front of her. Not too long after Shadi and January prove the strength and pure nature of their friendship, Gus's voice rings through the door in the pouring rain. Luckily, oh my God, what? I can't speak. Luckily, January's hesitation to open the door doesn't last long enough for Gus to disappear. He only hides long enough for January to feel like she missed out. Then Gus proves he's become a romantic guy by playing music for them to dance to in the rain, while Gus proves that he chooses January now and will continue to choose her. While January is hesitant to allow herself to see the future, they both accept that for now, happiness in the moment is what matters.
Literally crying. Okay, also though, this scene was like so dramatic, but I loved it.
Oh, I thought it was so fitting because from now on, it's almost been like a joke about how she loves rom-coms so much, but it's almost like they're making it their own. And I love how it's almost been simple throughout the book, but now all of a sudden it's like the quintessential like cheesy romantic moment, and I'm like, oh, this is so perfect for them.
Okay, question, because as you were reading your synopsis, I was like thinking, you thought he like hid long enough for like January to like be like, oh my God, where are you?
But he didn't do it on purpose. I think he was just setting it up.
Yes, so in my mind, he didn't do it on purpose. He did that because I think it was like a callback to when they first met, that he thought if he put on loud music, she'd get so angry and come over again. Okay, I was just confused.
Yeah. Okay, glad we clarified. I noted when it was like, it made me cry a little bit when Shadi was explaining to January about like just everything, like her situation, and then January says the thing about how she fell in love with Shadi. Like, and that's true love too. I know. Like, oh, what the heck?
Know. It was so sweet.
So sweet. Oh my gosh. Here's a quote that like I love. Falling, the part that takes your breath away. It's the lady when you can't believe the person standing in front of you both exists and happen to wander into your path. It's supposed to make you feel lucky to be alive, exactly when and where you are. How beautiful is that?
Oh, I love that line. That was gorgeous.
I thought it was hilarious though when January was inside the house like, what should I do? What should I do? And she just froze and she could not decide. And Shadi was like, girl, just go. And then when she runs out to finally like get her moment, she breaks down. She's like, he's gone. I missed my chance. His car is gone again. He's not going to come back. Yes. Like, holy crap. And then I died when Shadi clapped when January ran to the door. Like, she is the best friend. And then literally the rest of my notes are just like literally freaking out and about their whole moment. The music that he planned was so cheesy and I couldn't handle it. And then he wanted to dance. And which in the rain, which like goes back to how they were at line dancing and stuff. Yes. And then they started talking about Naomi, and I was like, what the? She has nothing to do with anything right now. Okay, but then I understand why they had to talk about Naomi, but I was like, can't they just be happy? This quote, he says, because I know no matter how long I get to love you, it will be worth whatever comes after. That was amazing because that just proves to January that he is choosing you and he will continue to choose you, which I think was a huge insecurity for her because she was like, oh my gosh, like my dad didn't choose.
Yeah.
He's not going to
Exactly.
choose me. And
Exactly.
But he is.
And the fact that like she saw Naomi literally like the day before and that shook her to her
Literally.
core. Like it just like resolved all of the anxiety that she had.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was so sweet. It's just like I think Gus knew that too, that like she had that insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "No, I choose you and I'll choose you
Aw.
every single day." And I was like, I can't handle.
It's too much.
Handle.
It's too much, dude. Oh my gosh. Here's the line that's going to get you to freak out. He says, "When I watch you sleep, I feel overwhelmed that you exist."
I'm going to cry again. I can't. I screamed.
I screamed. The way Emily Henry brings everything back, I cannot handle it. I cannot.
So good. I screamed because again, Gus knew that that was a feeling that like she was yearning for, and the fact that he has that with her, I was like, stop. It's too much. It's too much.
And then I love, at first I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but I love that they just decide to be happy for now. I think that's what they both need to knock it in their heads, and I think it was just beautiful.
I had to reread that paragraph again because I was like, I don't know how I feel about that.
I know.
But then after I read it again, I was like, oh, no, you're right. Both of them, after everything they've gone through, they just need it for now. And I was like, okay, you know, I'm okay with that. And it makes sense, you know.
Totally. And that's the end of the chapter. Or pretty much the end of the book, but then they have one more chapter that's like a 9-month time jump. Okay. I
love time
I
jumps.
know, me too. It closes everything so perfectly. Okay. This I don't have a synopsis for because it's just like, I don't know. What do you say about it? I love how they're just describing their life together. And one of the things that Gus does is just when they're doing mundane things, he just says, "It's a good day." I just think that's so
literally
sweet.
So cute. And then when it's a bad day, he says, it's like, "It's been a fucking
Or
day,"
something,
or whatever.
yeah.
He said. Something like that. It's so funny. Like, oh my gosh, it's so cute.
And I also love that, like, the way that they, like, explain the dynamic of how they share their books with each other. I just think it's so cute. They just have a silent appreciation for each other's talent, you know?
Again, it just, they work so much better compared to Gus and Naomi. It's just like they understand each other a lot better, and I love it.
On page 354, I got chills during this part when Gus said that it was a happy ending, because I think that's really true. Like, it is a happy ending in itself to not have regrets and to have experienced something you want in life the way that you wanted it to. Like, that's all that matters. And this was when they were talking about the whole thing about the end of Gus's book. And I just thought that was like so beautiful.
Yes, I really did like that Emily Henry included that bit, because at first when I heard the ending, I was like, "Gus, honey, what did you write?" Like, that's not it.
Right? Literally, like, what the hell? This quote, I love this. "It was okay to let the ugliness into your story, that it would never rob you of all the beauty." Again, poetry. Her writing is insane. Honestly, I thought the book could have ended there. I really did.
Okay.
But the anniversary surprise party. And then he's proposing, and he wrote her a note like they were doing all along. And I know.
I'm gonna cry again. I love that he took back his birthday.
I know. He did.
It was so powerful, and he made it like their like anniversary for like him proposing, and I was like, that's so sweet.
And then I think this is the last quote, I can't even talk. The last quote in the book, it says, "A happy for now so vast and deep that I knew I didn't have to worry about tomorrow."
Oh, I just got chills. I got chills. Like, just so gorgeous. So gorgeous. Like, I thought that was the perfect ending.
Same. I thought,
wow.
Wow.
I was like shook to my core. I will say, I was reading the last chapter, and I'm the kind of person who does not like spoilers. I'm the person who will cover the page as I read, because my eyes will wander, and I don't want to like find spoilers. I opened the book accidentally, and I looked on the right hand side Do you know what I saw? I said, will you
marry me?
he was proposing. Yes, will you marry me? And I closed the book and I was like,
oh no.
I was like, no. But I still read it and the buildup was still really good. But I was just
Dang it.
oh my God. I don't like spoilers, but yeah.
Oh, what a freaking doozy that book was, dude. I loved it.
This was fantastic. I was so surprised.
Oh, I know. Me too. I did not expect it to be as good as it was. Better or worse than The Love Hypothesis. Or not worse, but like, you know.
I told you that like The Love Hypothesis has a very, very special place in my heart. But I will say the way that Beach Read is surrounded by themes that are harder hitting is what puts it above just a little bit, but The Love Hypothesis is also above in the connection.
Fair. Okay. I agree. To me, they're tied, but in different ways, which
same.
I was never expecting. I was almost afraid to tell you that. Bestie, I'm afraid to tell you this. But yeah, I absolutely loved this book.
I mean, I think they have like strengths, but they're both definitely up there. Like they're so high.
5,000%. Hey, y'all. We have a little surprise for you, just like we did at The Love Hypothesis. We are going to fan cast the book.
Do you want to go first?
Sure, I can go first.
Okay.
We'll probably have the same ones because we always end up looking at the same website. But as I was reading, I actually pictured this actress. So then when I went and like did some research about what other people thought, I was like, look at me go. January Daisy Edgar Jones. She was in that new movie with Sebastian Stan, Fresh. And I think I don't know what else she's been in, but she just has the look and I feel like the attitude that I would imagine.
So I don't know her that well, but I think she does look like a January.
Right? She totally does. Like what, like you read in the book, you could picture her face as that.
Yes.
Another person I thought could play it, but I like the Daisy Edgar Jones ones the best. Victoria Pedretti. The girl from You.
What was she in?
Love.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, actually.
I want to see her in a different kind of role.
Maybe. Okay, actually, yes, I could see that too. Never mind. Sorry. I think I'm just so stuck on her character.
It's hard to imagine her as anything else. Yes, I would be curious to see how she would do it.
So my first one that I would kind of put to the top would be Lily Collins.
I saw that. I don't know. I think her style is almost too cheesy, maybe?
So she looks like the January to me, but I've seen her acting that's like a little more serious, a little more grumpy. I know that she can be angry too, like with the outbursts and the yelling and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I can see it.
Okay, I could see
and
it
stuff,
too.
But I think what you're thinking about is Emily
I am,
Harris.
100%.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Love Rosie and Stuck in Love.
Fair. Okay. You know what? And I haven't seen her in a ton of other stuff, but when you say that, I totally could see it.
Yeah. And then there's another movie that she just did on Netflix that's very, very serious. And that one looks really good too. Her character is like very like stoic or whatever. Sure. So I was like, oh, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, another person that's like, I don't know, I can see as January but not acting is Haley Lou Richardson. Do you know
I love her. She's married to
too.
Michael from Jane the Virgin.
Yes, I know. They also make such a cute couple. Like
so cute.
So cute.
I could see her doing it, but I almost feel like she doesn't have the right face. I know that's a really weird thing, but her attitude 100%.
Oh, really? I was the opposite. I can see her as January, but not her acting.
Have you seen 5 Feet Apart with her and Cole Sprouse?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so watch that and then let's talk.
Okay, last one is that I can't see her as January, but her attitude is January. And that's Nina Dobrev.
Oh, for sure. But but I could not see her as January.
I can't see her as January, but her attitude and her acting is definitely
Totally.
January.
So. All right, on to our boy Gus. So I wrote Jack Quaid because we talked about that in the last episode, which I could totally see him as that. I had Dylan O'Brien because I totally feel like he could do it really well.
He could definitely play the grump, but he looks a little too young.
Fair. But I think, with the facial hair, though, and the way that he's described, if they did that, I totally think they could age him up a little.
You're right. You're right. If he grows out his, like, you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of his, what he looks like right now. He shaved his hair. So he's like his hair is like really, really short and he doesn't have
He would have to be
hair.
a little more scruffy.
Exactly. He looks very, very young right now, but grow out his beard, grow out his hair, put him in a sweatshirt.
Literally.
Yeah.
And then another person I had for Gus, which I'm not totally sold on this, but
Okay.
Miles Teller.
Okay.
I don't love
he
that.
doesn't
Actually,
look-
when I said it out loud, I hated it. So
he doesn't
scratch that.
look he doesn't look like a Gus, but I know he's a really good actor, so I could maybe see
He would
him be
play the
Gus.
sweet side of it especially well.
Yeah. For Gus. These two options are just like, I don't know. I don't have like a preference like I did for January, but first one is Logan Lerman.
Oh, yep. Okay, I could see
A
it.
little gruffy.
Yeah.
Same thing with Dylan O'Brien. Grow out your hair, grow out your beard.
But he does look
You
a
got
little
it.
young.
Yes. Yes, he does. Okay, and then the other person I was thinking for Gus is Richard Maddinson.
I hate his face.
No way! No, you
I
fucking
kind of
don't.
do. Like, he's cute, but I just could never see him in a role
Really?
like that.
Really? I think he would be pretty cute.
Okay. Fair.
Okay, well, yeah.
Agree to disagree.
Okay.
Okay, Sonia. I'm curious
Okay.
if you'll love this or hate this. I had Sonia as Drew Barrymore.
Oh, that's interesting. You know who I saw when I was Googling it? I saw like Laura Dern.
She would also be fantastic.
Yeah.
100%. I love Laura Dern. Wow.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I could totally see that. Did
Yeah.
you have a Sonia?
I did not.
Okay. Did you have a January's mom?
No.
Okay. For January's mom, I put Marissa Tomei.
I did see that.
Yeah. Which, okay.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's actually perfect.
Okay, January's dad, which now that I'm reading this, I hate it. I
Why?
put Stanley Tucci.
Oh, I hate it too.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. That makes
Wait.
no sense.
I put Colin Firth.
I saw that when I was looking. I feel like he might be too old now.
Yes, I guess, but I feel like the way that he would act is perfect.
Fair.
For January's dad.
Okay, true though. Because have you seen
Yeah.
What a Girl Wants? That movie with Amanda Bynes?
Not for a long time.
Okay.
I have seen it.
Okay,
but
because
not for a
the
while.
way he's a dad in that would 100% translate to the dad in this
Yeah.
book.
Yes.
Okay, who'd you have for Naomi?
I had Suki Waterhouse.
Interesting.
Who did you put down?
Suki Waterhouse does not have dark enough hair because Naomi is described with really bright eyes and like black hair.
Okay, she can put a wig
Okay,
on.
fine. Ah. I had Alexandra Daddario, but I don't necessarily love that. But I also kind of like that. But again, you could never cast Alexandra Daddario and Daisy Edgar Jones in those roles together because they look too similar.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that would not be right.
I don't know. I just feel I'm like just trying to think because like Naomi's supposed to be like tough and like, but she's supposed to be gorgeous too,
Yep.
And so I'm just like trying to think because like now that I'm thinking, I don't think Suki Waterhouse looks tough, but she's gorgeous. But I think Alexandra looks tough, but I don't think she's like up to par of like what Naomi is like supposed to look like.
I agree. Well, that wraps up our Beach Read Part 2 episode. I am obsessed with this book and will probably reread it 100 times. I bought it on my iPad, but I'm going to go buy a physical copy because I
I'm
just
so
want it.
happy we read this book.
I'm so happy we did too because it was very kind of off the cuff. Let's just read a book
Yeah.
for the podcast, but I don't think we could have chosen better.
I know, like I
Honestly.
was just like so pleasantly surprised
Right?
that it was so good.
Literally, so
freaking good.
Our next episode is going to be, I forgot. Selena, take it away.
Yes, it's going to be a movie we haven't chosen yet on Passion Flicks, which we've seen circulating TikTok.
Oh, are we watching a movie?
I don't know if it's a movie or if it's a TV show, but it's something on Passion
I thought
Flicks.
it was a website, Passion Flicks.
It is, but Passion Flicks is like a streaming site.
Oh. I thought we were
What
going
did you think we were doing?
I thought we were going to talk about Passion Flicks just as
Oh, we could do that too.
well. It's going to be a surprise.
Yeah.
Tune in to find out. It's a mystery. Ooh, do you feel
Yeah.
the suspense?
Do you feel the tension?
Clearly, we need to plan better. We just talked about good communication, and clearly that was
Really?
not happening. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.